All right, y'all. Welcome back to CityBoys Podcast. We're here to talk about some STLSC action for match day 2. I'm Grayson. You boys want to say your names?
No, I'm shy. No, what's up? I'm Ethan. I'm excited to talk about match day 2.
Yeah, I'm Jacob. I'm not as excited to talk about match day 2. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was about to say boys buzzing. And rightly so, because we had a huge dub for St. Louis City this week. Come on, boys. Let's go. A big 3 points. That puts us on 4 points, tied for first in the West. We're back. We're back on top. I would say we are tied with 5 other teams, though. So ahead of us on goal differential, we've got Portland Timbers. Tied with us on goal differential, LA Galaxy. Below us, we got RSL and Minnesota United. Those are the rest of the boys with 4 points. Honestly, I'd say the 2 guys we'd have to worry about later in the stages of the season would be Timbers, of course, and I think Galaxy are sleepers for this year.
And also, we massively underestimated Real Salt Lake, so we should be on the lookout for that later in the year as well.
We'll touch on that a little bit later in the episode, I think. But for now, Jacob, do you want to take us into our lineups for this week?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think this is probably one of our stronger lineups. Only downside was Blom got a knock in training before the game, so he didn't even make the 18, which I know for us, we hadn't had any information on that. So when we saw that he didn't make the 18, we were all kind of scrambling. But I really like the lineup we put out. Obviously, Berkey in net. Then we had Totland, who's not going to come off the field. Tim Parker's back. Nielsen's back. And Markinich is making a good argument for why he should never leave the field as well. Then we had Indy start, Durkin start, Lewin, and Celio. And then Adeniran up top. And it's saying we were in a 4-4-2. It also looked like a 4-2-3-1 at times, but I'm just going to go off of what this is telling me. We had Big Sam up top as well as AZ.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was a 4-4-2 just based on AZ's positioning throughout that game, but I thought it was a pretty crazy take to put Jackson up there. I think it really paid off.
Yeah, I agree. I was really surprised when Apple TV was showing St. Louis City going out in a 4-4-2. I thought it was a little suspect, but yeah, I think it was pretty exactly right. And AZ's positioning up top definitely added a lot to the attack.
Ethan, why don't you break down those goals for us?
I would be more than happy to, Grayson. So early on, 35th minute, our boy Celio picks it up off the patented St. Louis City high press with delightful composure and confidence. He dribbles it right onto the inside of the 18, takes it with his right foot directly into the bottom corner of the near post. Goalkeeper did not stand a chance. Really, it came from, again, the high press that St. Louis City had and a really, really good finish from Celio. Our second goal came in about the middle of the second half, around the 75th minute. A really good pass from the man of the hour, Celio Pompey, who just puts in Sam Adeniran, gets it on his left foot, full power, smashes the circle button from Sam, whops it to the near post, and in it goes. I saw in his post-match press conference, he said, sometimes you just have to hit it as hard as you can. And yeah, it paid off for Sam today. We've talked him up a lot, so it was really great to see him find the back of the net.
Yeah.
I think Big Sam and everybody watching both know that he had absolutely no business scoring from that angle.
Yeah, when you're on the corner of the 6-yard box like that, your chances are slim.
The boys took the dub with those 2 goals. Shall we break into our 3 points from what we saw this week?
Yeah, why don't you take us away, Grayson?
Last week's episode, I was really critical of St. Louis City's midfield. So I do want to take another peek at them this week and kind of compare and see what we did correctly this time, which was a lot. We did a lot different. What Jacob just said, we did have Blom out this week. I was a little worried because we didn't see him in those pre-match injury updates. So I was a little worried, he was seeing something personal or like family related. it is just a knee injury. Hopefully, it's nothing too crazy, and he can come back, get to training, and it's nothing too long that's going to sideline him for more than a couple of games. But I will say that credit to Durkin, he really he slid into that lineup and really just brought some tidiness, composure on the ball, and a good amount of recovery still from this match. And Celio and Leuven in the midfield. And then the two new guys in the midfield, we had Durkin, and on the right, we had a huge performance from Indiana Vasilev, who surprisingly enough was the top tackler in this week's game with 3 tackles. He had a great game. Not too much, on the creative side, creating, wide open chances. But I just wanted to shout out his pressure and his hunger and aggression in the final third. I think he really encapsulates what City's style of play is. He's always hunting, and even with a broken arm, he's hounding on these players. So it's really delightful to see that from him. And I want to talk about Edward Lovin's redemption. So last week, he had a terrible, terrible passing performance. I think he only made 23 complete passes. This week, he did double that. So a lot more passes. Shows that we did have a little bit more possession this week and could move the ball better, actually find feet in the midfield. So he had 43 passes connected out of 56 for a 77% passing. But I also wanted to say that he also recovered the ball 12 times, which is more than Durkin and more than Blom last game, which was surprising to see because we usually see Leuven as more of that creative attacking-sided midfielder. But we also forget that this dude is absolutely massive. He has tree trunks for legs. And he will take the ball off you in the midfield, especially when he's got, 2 other guys around him in Vasilev and Durkin that are going to press as hard as he is every time. And of course, we got to give a shout out to the man of the match, Celia Pompeu, for a great, great game. He got man of the match, but I also wanted to shout out his offensive play. He did play as a left mid. And as a left mid, I usually would say you would see less of an offensive output than a left winger. They're pushing up higher on the pitch. But Pompeu perfectly fit in a more conservative role. He'd pick up the ball further back in the field. His dribbling ability allows him to drive forward, push in, create some chances, and get some shots off. Pompeu today, or in the match, had only 3 shots. One of them went in the goal. One of them hit the post. He's 2 out of 3 for great shots. I think the third one, he just hit a couple feet wide to the left. Nothing crazy, but just want to shout Pompeu for a great game. Still did a lot defensively, has a lot of energy. And all of the Durkin, Leuven, and Pompeu, they all played 90 minutes. So that shows that these people they do have that energy and desire to run till the final minute. And that was some criticism I had for Leuven last week, is I wasn't sure if he was fit enough to play the style. And I think he really shut me up. He shut me up. So the only thing that I would complain about is somehow FootMob gave him a higher rating last week. He had a 7.8 last week and a 7.5 this week. What? He was light years better. And I think that completely showed in how our midfield played.
Dude, I just want to make a quick point. Yeah, I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Leuven, man, when Leuven is playing good, you can tell the difference it makes in the team. I mean, he passes better, the team as a whole passes better. When he's defending well, the team defends well. So yeah, just as we've talked about him being the engine of the team, and there's a reason that his standard is as high as it is. So yeah, night and day from match day 1.
Yeah, to touch on FootMob, they must really consider assists to be vastly more important than every other stat except goals, I guess, because
I would give
he
him that.
might not
I would give him
he
that.
might not have gotten on like the stat sheet as well, but what you saw out of his game definitely deserved a higher rating than his poor performance that just so happened to get him an assist.
Big shout out to Durkin. I think he in the center of the park has been so good for St. Louis so far. I think he ran over 6 miles,
Yeah,
just on and on and on. I mean, run by Duracell batteries, Chris Durkin.
yeah.
And his penguin slide celebration, that's a piece of art. That's a piece of
Iconic.
art, Chris.
Iconic.
I I give so much credit to him because he's definitely not the fastest. I'm not saying he's slow by any means, but in comparison to like the wingers that New York City had with just ungodly amounts of pace, Durkin did not care. He was going to chase you down, wait for you to make a mistake, and he was going to trip you up, and he was going to steal the ball. I was super impressed with the way he played the position. For my point this week, really wanted to shout out our striker play. I think it was kind of a bold move to go ahead and start Adeniran over Klaus, especially since everything's telling us we played a 4-4-2. And I know Klaus played all of the previous games, so it might have been a little bit of a rest. But I also think we were just feeding the hot hand or the hot foot in this case. Because Adeniran shows and has shown this season every game why he deserves to be out there. He is a handful for defenders. He got that goal, which 90% of the time he's not scoring that goal just from the angle. He put a lot of pace on it. And AZ, he was our second striker. And last week I talked a lot of crap on his game, and he didn't necessarily have a super standout performance, but he definitely played better. He was really good in those tight spaces. He was really good at putting balls on feet in better spaces and taking a lot of that pressure off of Adeniran up top in a way that when we've seen Klaus and Adeniran play together, I have not seen them play well together up top simultaneously. So coupling AZ with Adeniran up top was really good for our attack. And I mean, Celio isn't necessarily an attacker in the 4-4-2, but he had an amazing game. Without Celio, we probably only win 1-0.
I do want to touch on that striker pairing of Sam and Klaus, because that was a point that I was thinking about making in the first matchup. Was we saw that pairing later in the later stages of the game where we did put Klaus and Sam up top, and it really wasn't working for us. You know, we'd see one of them pressing at a time, or I felt like I wasn't seeing Sam press nearly at all. But they did. I think that pairing looked great at the end of this game. I was happy that they started with AZ as a second striker, which I also thought was a hot take. Didn't think it was going to work out, but he is much faster than either Sam or Klaus. Has that endurance, so is going to press that back line a lot more, and a lot more often, and press them faster. So when their center backs are taking just a little bit longer on the ball, they might get used to Sam pressing him and getting there in a certain amount of time. And then AZ, when he's on your ass, it's a lot faster, a lot quicker. So they're losing the ball a lot more. But I did say when Klaus eventually did come on, and it was Sam and Klaus up top, I did see that desire and that passion and that driving spirit to like press to the last minute. I mean, at the end of that game, I think it was after Sam's goal. So Sam had already scored, and Sam was still sprinting 40 meters to press the goalkeeper. Like, there's no need. Like, but I appreciated it, and I love the spirit, St. Louis spirit. So I do think that it would be possible for that Sam and Klaus partnership to work at times. I think we saw it in this game. Maybe not every game, but I'd like to see it tried later in the season, see if it can work against different sides.
In my opinion, Klaus and Adeniran on the field, they're both really good, but they don't complement each other well, right? So like Sam and AZ, they were like peanut butter and jelly out there. Klaus and Adeniran, it's more like queso and like some chocolate or something, like two things that you know are great by themselves, but together, that's not the best combination, and that might not be the best metaphor, but I think it speaks to it.
I would like to see the duo of Klaus and Sam work. I think we touched on it last week. Sam only has an eye for goal, and Klaus has an eye for goal, and also can see the space and open Sam up to score. I just think Adeniran with Klaus on the field also needs to adapt his game to open Klaus up to score as well.
I'll reel it in for the third and final point. I want to speak on the defense, but this time I want to show our center backs some love. I want to shout out Joakim Nilsson and Tim Parker. Parker back at it. First, I want to talk about Nilsson because, in my opinion, he had a very quiet man of the match performance. I know, it didn't really show up in the stat sheet, but defensively, I can think of a couple of instances where if he had not been on the field, they probably would have scored. He earned a 7.6 rating on the night. Only 2 tackles won, but 9 duels won. I don't know how they measure that, but
the most important 2 tackles of the game.
The specific tackle where New York City was running in on goal and he goes to ground, it surely would have been a red card had he not executed it perfectly. So he is really showing his quality, and he's coming off of a glute injury. Not to mention he completed 24 out of 27 passes, so extremely accurate. Also, kind of goes back to when Lovin is passing well and performing well, so is the rest of the team. A big point for the defense, I think, is that we only allowed 1 shot on target. So very solid. I know that New York City hasn't scored a goal yet this season, but it's good that their first one did not come against us. As a whole, our defense looked much more organized. That was something I noticed from the first whistle. Granted, our outside backs didn't have as much of an impact in the game as a whole, but both of them were carded in the first half, so I don't blame them for just reeling in their performances a little bit a more fundamental type of game from Markinich and Totland. And of course, our other center back, Parker, back at it with a 7.4. The lieutenant general of our defense, 44 out of 51 passing, and 3 duels won. So again, our defense just really creating. We're not a big build-up team. It's not like we're connecting through the center of the park. It's usually if Nilsson and Parker have a long pass, it's a long pass. They're hoofing it up there for one of our big guys to get it. Not to mention, Bekrar got nothing going all game. I could not tell you of a single successful dribble that he had. Tim Parker had Bekrar in his back pocket. Just a long day for him at the office in general. I thought a big part of Tim's game that he improved was his long balls. They had purpose. They would either be to Sam's chest or to put AZ in behind. And I think that had a big difference in our attack today, or in the game. You could tell that last year he was a Defensive Player of the Year finalist. Like, that was fully on display. He was back in that type of form. His long runs were on par, and he kept the ball out of the net. Clean sheet for our defense in the second match of the season. That's a good early omen for the team. Which brings me to the final point of Berkey's big body. Kind of a half body, half arm save there for his only save of the match. But every time he's called into question, he answers emphatically. He is really that guy. There's a reason that he's in the MLS advertising that he's the reigning goalkeeper of the year. That form from last season is again on full display, and if our defense can keep this up and keep the other teams from not scoring, then we're gonna have a really good time at the top of the table this season.
Yeah, this is kind of a Berkey point, mostly a Tim Parker point. One of my highlights for the game, because I love watching somebody get bodied, is when Tim Parker was shielding the ball back to Berkey. And I don't remember who was putting Tim under some pressure, but he made him look like a bag of feathers. He lifted him off the ground, threw him into the freaking stands, flexed on him, stepped over him, did an AI on him, and Berkey just had to pick the ball up, and then we turned and went on into that. And I was like, yeah, that's the St. Louis I know, and that's the St. Louis I love.
I wanted to shout out how impressively high our back line was throughout that entire match. And I think that also has to do with our entire shape as a team, our willingness to press forward, which is something I think we didn't get to see a lot during RSL. I wasn't sure if that was on RSL's impressive ball possession or our willingness to get forward, because when we pushed our defensive backline up to half field, we were winning the ball back in the opposition's half of midfield almost every single time. A couple times where they played long balls over the top, and that is something that we have to deal with when it comes to playing that high line. But as Ethan just mentioned, Nilsson and Nilsson's a lot slower than Parker, but still able to mop up those long balls. And of course, Parker's physicality is going to come in massive hand as the season wears on. But yeah, just another stat from FootMob I wanted to shout out that I thought was impressive was the amount of passes that we had in the opposition's half compared to what New York City had. So New York City had almost exactly 100 more passes than us. And in their own half, they had the majority of their passes. They had 216 out of 469 in their own half. So that shows their willingness to sit back. They are a possession-based side that likes to build up out of the back, and that's exactly what St. Louis wants. That's what our style of play, that's the exact opponent we want to face, is because when they're willing to play in the back, we're willing to press those guys in the back. And often their center backs, their defense are their least technical players, the guys who aren't that confident moving the ball fast with precision. So having that top line press extremely hard, that's how we're going to get those passes off. And that's also why St. Louis had more passes in our opposition's half than our own. We had 158 in NYC's half and only 126 in our own half.
That's hilarious.
It's an insane stat that both NYC and STL want to play in their half. The ball, I'd like to see a heat map of the ball, like just sitting in their half the entire time. So yeah, I think the aggression of that back line getting forward is going to be huge for how our defense looks for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I mean something that we've mentioned is our possession throughout the match was, I believe, 45 roundabout percent, but it felt like we had the ball so much
40.
more.
I think it was 60-40.
So for us to have only 40% possession, but still be up 2 goals and very strong, then yeah. So around 45% possession, really strong outing, especially from the high press.
Interesting to see how we go up against a team like Austin, because last year, if I remember correctly, Austin also plays more of a possession-based game, but they have out-and-out goal scorers on their team. And mentioned earlier, New York City's yet to score a goal, even though they had some real class up top. Like 2 of their wingers were definitely trying to get into attacking positions and gave us a little bit of trouble. But AustinFC's got some dogs on their team. I know they had Zardes come off the bench in this last game, but Rubio for them is definitely really good. And then Rigoni, I remember last year was giving us some trouble. If it wasn't for the back pass, we probably would have just tied that game last year.
Do they have Driussi on their team?
I don't think Driussi's there anymore. They have most of the same defense, though. Hedges is still there. Cascante, if that rings a bell for anybody. I remember Gallagher, number 17, who plays right back for them. He was giving us problems last year. And also, let's just remember, last year when we played them was our first game ever in the MLS.
The very first game.
So we've definitely improved a lot since then, and I would like to see how we handle that side. Hopefully, we don't get scored on as many times as we did last year, and hopefully we score 4 or more goals again.
Yeah, I know that Austin has seen a lot of offensive changes in their squad since, of course, their debut season not too long ago. I think their most notable exit, Diego Fagundes. Diego Fagundes was Austin FC's top scorer. I'm pretty sure he probably still is their top scorer, even though he's on LA Galaxy now. So they replaced him with Rigatoni. whatever. He's not, he's not as good in my mind as Fagundes is. Fagundes is a little bit older, but I really didn't see as much of a replacement in Rigoni. So I'm not too big on Austin FC. Of course, they have a personal hero of mine, Giazi Zardes. I was a big LA Galaxy fan back in the day, huge for the U.S. men's national team. He's getting near the end of his career. He's an older man now. He's not going to score against us. Come on now.
I think it's important to point out that in this last match week, when Seattle played Austin, the stats show that Austin got outplayed. They had 42% possession. They only shot the ball twice. One of it was on target. They had 5 yellow cards, 18 fouls. Their pass accuracy was 74. They only had 1 offside, which all of those kind of point to the fact that I think Seattle was just down Austin's throat. I don't think they were getting many attacks going. And when they did, it looks like nothing was really coming from it.
It's definitely be a much different game because we're definitely going to allow them to have the ball a lot more. So it's definitely going to be a different game for them playing against Seattle, from Seattle compared to St. Louis. We'll definitely see how their offense shapes up against ours. Do you guys want to make some match predictions, some score lines? This year, we're going to keep a prediction score table. So as the season goes on, we'll remind you guys where we're at in the standings. So how the game's going to work, you get 3 points for a correct score line prediction for City, and you get 1 point for a correct goal scorer prediction. So right now, the table's looking like me up top. I got 3 points from the first match day, calling a correct 2-0, keeping that clean sheet. So I take top of the Western Conference. Ethan and Jacob are on 0 points. So I'll go ahead and let you boys start off the predictions.
I'm gonna go probably. Damn, that's tough. I'm gonna go 3-1. I think Austin's probably got more attacking power than New York City did, and even though we look great, it's tough to keep every shot out, especially if we're gonna concede that much possession. So I'm gonna go 3-1, and I think Celio stays on his run of form, and I think Celio bags another one.
Okay.
Wow, I like it. I'm gonna go for 2-1 because I do think that we'll continue to score multiple goals. I think that's a big part of our game is scoring more than once. Because I do think toward the end of the game we'll concede. I think that Austin will find a way to eventually kind of break us down. As we kind of mentioned earlier, we weren't as strong on the wing defending this time, so I think that's where Austin will find success, if any. So yeah, 2-1, and to score, I'm picking Klaus. He's got to open the account sometime this year. So
Okay. So to keep the hot streak going, I'm trying to decide do I think City are capable of keeping another clean sheet? I think we can. I think that Austin FC isn't going to bring enough firepower to the table. I think they have a lot of creative players. I don't know if they have the guy that's going to put it away. So I'm going to say City keeps another clean sheet, and I think it's going to be another 2-0. I think we're just going to ride off the same high and keep another clean sheet, especially if we keep the same back line. We also saw a debut for, I think it's Nicholas Dior. I don't know.
I think it's Deer.
Deer. Either way, I'm excited to see him on the field. But I mean, our defense looks so solid this week. I think we're gonna keep a clean sheet, and I'm gonna give the scoring prediction to Indiana Vasilev. Indiana is gonna get his first goal of the season. Hopefully, first of many.
it's a good shout. I'm glad you pointed out Deer coming into the squad and making his debut. We got another Scandinavian scallywag. We are just full of them.
Europa League experience. We got some. I think one of the who played. Someone played in the Champions League. Or I'm tripping. I think
I think it's Tottenham. Yeah.
Tottenham played
Yeah.
for FC Metalagen or whatever. I don't know. There's too many letters in that word.
Medica, blah, 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 blah.
Metalagen. Somewhere in Denmark. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember.
At least he didn't play for the Scandinavian Scallywags.
That sounds like a good Sunday league team, man.
But do you guys have anything else, or should we finish the episode with some fashion takes?
I'm cool. I think I've said everything that was on my mind.
This week we are gonna end the episode with a game that St. Louis City likes to play on their social media pages. We just recently saw Roman Berkey rate the fits of the STL players as they're walking into the games. This week we got some more fire fits, and we're gonna vote on who had the best fit for this week. I am gonna pick Big Sam Adeniran with his full Nigerian Super Eagles tracksuit. Just a thing of beauty. I wish I could pull it off myself.
Jake, who you got?
So I've kind of got two. So I think pregame fit, who takes the cake for me, was Indiana Basilev. I thought it looked really clean.
Great pick.
Also kind of goes with my sort of style that I think I could pull off. So if he wants to throw me some hand-me-down clothes, I'd be cool with receiving some of those. And then in-game fit, I think Roman Berkey looks like the cleanest goalie in the entire MLS. Not only is he goalkeeper of the year, he's definitely the most fashionable, and his in-game fit. Yeah, look at that man. Look at that man.
Fucking clean this dude is. Are you joking?
He's that guy.
Those are my two. But as far as pregame goes, Indiana Basilev's got my pick.
So I'm saying it's a little unoriginal, but the best pregame fit for me, definitely Big Sam. The Nigerian Super Eagles go unbelievably hard. They have the international kit game by a long shot, in my opinion. So I also want to say that, and I want to say that his family, maybe some heritage in there. Grayson, make sure you edit that out once we find out if it's true. Dude, hold on. I'm looking.
I'm leaving that in there just the exact way it is.
Because he is of Nigerian descent. So
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna restart.
No, I'm leaving it in.
No,
I'm leaving that in there.
So Big Sam definitely had the number one pregame fit. But for me, our drippiest player is Tim Parker. He's got the lotto deal over the summer, and those cleats, big time sleeper ones. I've been shocked. When I saw that he signed with Lotto, I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I was like,
I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah, that's maybe a C tier soccer brand, but nah, he's rocking them, and that's our guy. That's our anchor.
It also takes a certain stature of man to pull off the fucking mullet look that he's got going on. It's a clean cut.
Him and Durkin are looking like some pretty solid ginger mullet boys out there.
So if any of you viewers have a link to a barber, definitely throw the barber's number towards Thomas Totland, because that man needs to get a fresh fade.
All right, y'all. I think that is enough for this week. Thank you for coming and joining, for showing the love on that last video. That was so nice. And I hope you guys stay tuned for this week. It's going to be a good season.
Yeah, for real. Thank you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. See you guys next week.
Keep on coming back, because we're still going to be City fans next week, the week after, and the week after that. So
yeah.
Let's go, City. Let's go.
Wow.